What's going on, everybody? Grant Temple here, the sales plug. I'm here to connect you to some of the best minds in the online business world, helping you learn how to sell better, sell more, so you can serve more clients and ultimately make more money. Today, we've got an awesome guest on. This guy has mastered the art of copywriting. He's killing it as a freelancer and has also built a really successful coaching business. Cardinal Mason is a freelance copywriter who works with info product creators and e-com brands. Like I mentioned, he's got an awesome coaching program that's helped countless students land their first clients as freelancers, and quite a few who are now doing freelance copywriting full time. So this dude's an absolute beast. You need to be dialed into everything he says here. Mason, thanks for being here. How's it going, man?
What up, Grant? Feeling good, man. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Thanks. So going right into it here, I mean, tell us a little bit about yourself. What sparked your interest with freelance copywriting, eventually leading to your coaching business? What's your story?
Yeah, so I mean, it starts with the ego of an 18, 19-year-old who thinks he's better than everybody else. And not really in a bad way. It's just I always wanted to, be something cool, do something cool. Except none of the actions that I took in life really reflected that at the time. Like, story of pretty much everyone's life. Wanted to be like Harvey Specter, basically, or like Don Draper, and didn't really understand that actually takes work. So I was kind of just like coasting, like working some shitty jobs. Had sort of a moment with myself where I realized I was like, oh, maybe I don't have the work ethic that I think I do. But the problem was I was just like looking at all these options that like never really appealed to me. And like, I was super picky with like what I wanted to do for work. And by some sort of act of God, I found copywriting, because no one ever really talked about that in my real life. Like, I was friends with some guys who were like, I guess, in business, like they were about to get a degree in business or something like that. But I'd never heard the word copywriting thrown around until I was on Twitter one day. So I read a bunch of threads about like how it worked and how like you could make money online writing words. And I was like, I know how to write, I could do this. And then it would sort of fit my identity of like, I would be Harvey Specter, Don Draper, or whatever. And then ended up procrastinating a long time, 18 months later, until COVID hit, when I was finally like, all right, I got all the time in the world. There's literally no excuse for me to not do this. Like, this is a test of who I am now. And if I choose to squander this opportunity of just having unlimited free time to, go play video games or like, waste a bunch of time, then I don't deserve anything. And so I put my nose to the grindstone, was able to sign a couple of clients as a freelancer fairly quickly, and then launched a cool career where I was able to drop out of school. I was making like, I guess, a full-time income fairly quickly. Like, I shot right up to like 5 to 7K a month in the first few months, which was like where I wanted to be anyway. And then it took 3 years of me doing that before I ever really wanted to teach it, because I didn't really care. But then I started Copy MBA, and there's I think the stats are like there's 90,000 people that have attended a free class lifetime. Gain a little following on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Now mostly like 90% of my time like goes to teaching, which I love.
Yeah, that's awesome. I found you through your content. Dude, we're going to go into that a little bit too, because I've always loved your content. That's what really jumped out to me. And I'm sure it's somewhat intentional on your end, but I got a couple of questions for you in a little bit about how to create like really good content, because you've grown, quite big audiences. So I guess so kind of along this track, where was a moment that clicked for you that you were like, okay, this is something I can really dive into as a freelancer? And then I guess as well, what clicked for you that, all right, now I can start teaching it and grow a sizable coaching business?
So the first question was, what made me think I could do freelancing?
Yeah, well, I guess, was there like a moment that clicked? Was it like signing your first client that you were like, ooh, it's go time, like I can crush this? Or was there kind of a defining moment in that?
It was my first response to a cold email. It was a negative response too. It was just the fact that I got a response that blew my mind. And I was like, okay, I guess we can do it. Because like, again, there was no frame of reference for like what this stuff looked like. I didn't know anyone really doing it. There were very few people online who were doing copywriting. Like, I came up in the age of drop shipping, basically. There were a couple guys doing copywriting, but like the info I was consuming, it was like podcasts and books and YouTube videos from people who have been doing it for years, like 10 years, and they were older than me, and they started in a new or an older era where like there was no real cold email. It was like you were going to networking events and stuff to get clients. And so I just had no idea. There were like a couple people that told me like, yeah, you can send cold emails and get clients. And I was like, all right, man, like, let's give it a shot. Like, it wasn't like now where it's like, we have people like you who like, you do it casually. Like there are, you know, a couple hundred people in the inner circle who like, just kind of just do it. You know what I mean? There's just people that kind of, it's not even a big deal for them. But at the time, like this, such a huge thing where I was like, oh, I just need this to work. And so I blindly trusted the advice of like anonymous Twitter users on how to send cold emails and having no idea if it was actually going to work. And then the first time I ever got a response, I was like, oh, now I know that I can get someone's attention. At least it just wasn't a good fit. And so I think like maybe a week or two after that response, I was just going so hard. I was just sun up, sun down, like doing outreach, applying to stuff. And then I ended up landing that first client. So that was kind of what like hooked me on copywriting. But for coaching, I mean, I kind of fell into that by accident. So like I launched Copy MBA initially with Chase Diamond, who some people might know. He's like he was my second ever client, but he was also a mentor to me. Like we worked closely together for a while. Like he did me a lot of favors. I did a lot of free work for him and just tried to help as much as I could with his stuff. And because I had launched a course with him before, but I had not, like, it wasn't my face, it was him. Like I helped with the marketing, like all the stuff that was going to go behind like distributing it, and also like the content. Like I basically ghost wrote the content of the course. And then so we had done 2 or 3 of those, and I was like, let's just do a course 50-50 together, because now I have distribution, now I have an audience. Because this was when I probably had like 30 or 40K on Twitter. I didn't have Instagram, but I had like a decently sized email list and TikTok too. And so I was like, we could just do this together. And so we launched Copy MBA September of 22, and then we didn't really make a ton of money with it. Like it was just a course at the time. Like it was just like the video only course, and it was good, but I didn't really take it seriously until I started doing webinars in like March of 23. And I was like, oh, like there's huge demand for this, and people want more access to information like this than just a course. Like we should have coaching on top of it, which we then did. And then that kind of blew it up. And like, that's why it's like my favorite thing to work on now. Cause there's just so many people that come through that like, they, you know, they love the content. They want to get started in copywriting. They don't think it's possible for them. And then they talk to someone like you or Amanda or Tommy or Sebastian or someone that's just like already doing it. And then they end up, you know, building a stream of income that, you know, completely changes their life. Like it's really cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's super cool. When we were together, when you flew us down to Miami, which was super dope. Not a lot of people do that for their clients, that's for sure. You know, I was telling you, we were at that restaurant and I was like, dude, you've captured something here. It's like, you're good at selling people, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this is the idea, here's my program. But I think what you've got something special too is the sale continues afterwards. It's not like you're extracting more money, but like people are bought in, you know, but there's so many programs where like people are bought in, then they pay the money and afterwards they're like, fuck, like, I don't really want to do this, or like they don't get the results. But just in your community and inner circle, there's like it's like an energy, you know what I mean? Like people are into it. People are trying to get clients. People are getting clients. People are making money. And I think that's super unique.
I appreciated that when you said that. I still remember that. We were at 8th Street. And I thought that was super cool because you also have experienced the industry. Like you're a little bit older than me. You're 30,
Right.
33. Okay. So I'm 25. And so you are not the typical person that would come through inner circle. Like a lot of times it's guys that have never done anything online and they just want to get started with something. Right. But like you've seen a lot of BS, so you can compare mine to something else. I think like, I've always been a product guy. Like anything I've ever worked on, like whether it's just my own freelancing or like agencies that I've had, or like anything I've ever distributed to a lot of people, like I really care about the way it comes across. And that a lot of people think like, oh, that's whatever. Like, you know, it's just cope. Like good enough marketing will like get you through. You can make a bunch of money. You don't have to care about product. Good product will be way more profitable than like your best marketing. You know what I mean? And I don't even think I'm the best at this. I think like, do you know Jimmy Farley?
Yeah. I've seen him on through his content through you.
So Jimmy Farley, he does TikTok shop. He has a program called Creators Corner, and his stuff is so good that he doesn't even really market it. He doesn't do IG pushes. He makes like 1 TikTok a month. he kind of does YouTube, but it's mostly just case study videos. And he still has a constant stream of people coming through because he cares about his product. That's where he puts all of it in. And also too, when you're coaching beginners, which again is not you, but a lot of the guys that usually come through, they need to be, continuously sold on themselves that they can actually do it. So that's really the purpose of those like daily group calls that we do, or like even the one-on-ones. It's mostly just so that we can tell you that this is actually a thing and that you shouldn't give up, because all the information is already there. It's just they need to be told again and again and again that this is like a viable option for you. And that's what gets them to the point where they are making money, just because they grind out that first phase where they're not making any money.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I've noticed about that too is I'll be in the Slack channel and it'll just be like random huddles. It'll be like 11:30 p.m. and I pop in there for a second. There's like random huddles going on, or, you can see a little like headphones thing. There's a couple of people in there. I'm like, dang, people are up right now, like in the community talking. I don't even know what they're talking about, but I've been in countless things where it's like the community is almost a negative, to be completely honest, because it's like it's so dead. No one's really getting any results. It almost looks like nothing's going on. So that aspect of yours, I think it does encourage people to take action, get clients, make money, and then when enough people are doing that, it's almost like it feeds itself. You're watching other people make money. You're like, all right, well, if this guy can do it, I can do it, or if she can do it, I can do it. I think that's a big part of the success that you had with that.
That's so funny that you say that, because that never ends. Like whether it's for like the little freelancers who are just getting started, and they see someone sign their first client and they get jealous. Dude, at every level of business, it's me and my cohort, like my guys, we've been doing this for like 5 years now. We got to, we compare ourselves to guys that are kind of in our verticals, or guys that are 5 years ahead of me, where they look at like, other guys in their vertical and they're like, this idiot's doing, $3 million a month. Like, why aren't I doing $3 million a month? It's like that never ends. And that is literally the fuel that I feel like has gotten most entrepreneurs to where they are. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Cause it's one of those, and it's meant to be like a good thing. Right. But I've gone to some events. Like there's a mentor of mine. I mean, he's done over 9 figures online. It's like, I thought he'd be like godlike when I went to meet him, and you're like, this guy's just a normal guy. Like he's cool. He's smart at marketing. He's good at that stuff, but like, it's not so different. There's not such a big gap. So when you start meeting people that have done what you would perceive as significantly better as far as like results in an online business, most times you're like, this is just a normal guy. They've just done the work. They've put the time in. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Or they're like subnormal, where it's like, I remember early, before Copy MBA was like what it is, there was a guy on Twitter that me and my friends used to make fun of, because we were like, bro, like this guy blank tweeted again, like, let's see what he's got to say about this thing. Like, he just always had like the worst ideas ever. Just like wasn't a guy that we really like respected a lot. And then there was something he launched where he started doing like 300 grand a month, and we were like, he's doing 300K a month? Like, what the fuck? Like, why is he doing 300K a month? It made us all so mad. It drove us to do more. Like, it's like, you have to get a little jealous. Like, it actually works. It's a great like technique. Recommend it.
Yeah, and it goes to show. So my little brother, he's a little more skeptical of things, and definitely not into sales in any sort of way. He, executes trades for like a, finance company essentially. But I'll like talk with him about, stuff. Sometimes I'm in high ticket sales. I've, do copyright, all sorts of things. And I'll say that at times, like, dude, like, no offense to this person, like, they're a fucking idiot and they're absolutely crushing it. And he's like, I think you overcomplicate things. He's like, you got to remember sometimes that a lot of people are idiots, and not like talking down on anyone, but he's basically making the point like you almost overcomplicate. He's like, talk to them like they're kindergartners and you'll probably get through to them. And I think that's I could probably segue into copywriting a good bit, right? Is making sure it's simple and clear for people, not super creative and out there.
Yeah, actually, that's like one of the main rules that I tell people who are new writers is like, you have to like underestimate, or I guess overestimate. You have to treat people like they're dumber than they are. Cause like my mom used to say this all the time, and I love it. Like a person is smart, but people are stupid. So like for some reason, as you zoom out more, it's just more likely that like, you're just gonna run into people who are below the mean. You know what I mean? And there's a great YouTube video that I watched years ago now. It's called The Art of Dumbing Down. And it talks about like why, every single, like why Mr. Beast is the, biggest creator in the world. It's because he makes videos that are so easy to understand that like a kid can watch it. Someone who, you know, doesn't speak the language that the video is in can watch it. They can understand it. You know, everyone can follow along. It's for everyone. It's as broad as you can go. And when you're trying to write, you know, copy that will agree with pretty much everybody that comes on the page or everybody who's in the target market, like you have to do that. You have to really keep it kind of dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point. Well, kind of going into freelancing, right? So you started doing this for clients, you know, writing copy for them. And kind of going off this foundational piece, right? I guess what would you say is the foundation of copywriting that someone can learn? Like, where's square one? If someone wanted to start learning about copy, where should they go? What should they start looking at?
You just got to find out like what humans in general really want. So, I mean, in my content for the last like almost 3 years on TikTok and everywhere else, I've been preaching this book called Cashvertising. And a lot of like older, more legacy copywriters will be like, well, that's not even the best copywriting book, like boron letters and breakthrough advertising. Like, yeah, there's a lot of great copywriting books, but Cashvertising, number one, is like you can pirate it online. There's like a free PDF somewhere there. And two, like it teaches you, it's like the absolute basics of what people want, like the life force 8, right? And so most people, when they're talking to people, they don't really fully understand like what it is that like people who are trying to buy something, like what they're actually trying to achieve. And so like when you start to look into like what that is and also what a hook is, like just how to get people's attention, how to make them care about what you care about, that is like layer 1 of copywriting. And then above that, I guess, is like style. And then above that is like some other supplementary skills, like how do you distribute it? Like, do you understand, you know, how email, like ESPs work? Do you understand how to use, you know, text platforms? Do you understand how to like, you know, structure a landing page and stuff like that? So I think like in that order is usually how you find it out. But layer 1, that's why I recommend Cashvertising, is because it teaches you all that. And that's like, it doesn't just help copywriting, it helps everything, bro. Like it helps you communicate better with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've probably heard you say this in a video, and it's one of those things where you can, you know, you start getting down to the atom in the universe, right? You could go forever on this, but the very foundation, I think, of communication, right, is like, if you learn copywriting and you get good at it, it's not just about writing words. It really is how you communicate with anyone at any given time, right? It's like you can get really granular with it and go, all right, if I understand what people want, I can navigate all the relationships. I can navigate all the conversations that I have to have. And you think Cashvertising kind of gives a good layer 1 level for that. So
yeah, but also like most of this stuff, ironically, you can really only learn by doing. So I remember when I started thinking about copywriting, like okay, so I used to have, I'm not friends with them anymore, but I used to have these 2 friends that were just like, they were twins. And they were like, I love them to death, man, but they were just like really hard to wrangle. You know what I mean? Like when I was hanging out with them, like trying to get them to pay attention, they were just super ADHD all the time. And so like I started to test my copywriting skills based on like, can I get the twins to pay attention to me when I'm talking? Because they were just always distracted by something. They were always arguing with each other or some bullshit. And so like I started to like literally use hooks in conversations when I was talking to the twins, because I was like, that was the only way for me to wrangle them. And so once I started doing that, then it made it easier, like opening conversations with strangers and stuff like that, where it's just like you learn by doing, you learn by testing. And it's a lot of times like that sounds like a cop-out answer, because it's like, oh, come on, like you've tested before, like you must know some sort of trick, but it's like it's always a little bit different. Like you're never gonna have a one-size-fits-all answer to a question like that. But the more you write, the more you speak, the more you sort of like are aware of these practices, the easier it's going to be to sort of just spit them out. So you, at this point, I know you don't do a ton of copywriting because you're mostly doing sales stuff, but like there's probably a difference between like when you first started doing writing, like copywriting in this style, the time that it would take you to sort of come up with a piece versus now, where it's like now it's just natural to you, where it's like you understand both sales and copywriting. So it's like you can structure an argument in an email really quickly. You can, you know, you can make it feel cohesive without like making it sound too forced or anything. Way faster, because it's just natural, because you've done it so many times. That's not something you can just teach. I can't snap my fingers and all of a sudden someone understands how to write, you know, a 500-word email in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I think a lot of times, particularly, I think this is a challenge that a lot of info product creators come by, or coaching programs or anything kind of in that realm. People think that they'll watch one video or go through a course, and like, God's going to enlighten them, like deliver the stone tablet or something. It's like, well, just taking in the information is one thing, but then you actually have to do it, right? Like Michael Jordan could teach you how to do a jump shot, but like when you go up and you go to execute, like you suck because you're not good at basketball. You got to do what he says 1,000 times, and then you'll be, better at it. So I think it's kind of a similar thing in coaching, is helping people understand that it is taking in the information, but like you said, actually practicing it and applying it, because that's the only way you're going to get better at it.
Yeah. And it's true for every business model. I think that scares a lot of people off of copywriting, is they think that it's like a skill that takes forever to get good at. I would say that like any business that you're going to try, like, okay, let's talk about e-commerce and trading, because those two are pretty hot right now. You can't just copy someone else's trading strategy and just all of a sudden just have nothing but winners. Like most guys that I know that are good at trading and like make real money from that were unprofitable for at least a year. Like one guy in particular, guy I used to work with pretty closely, he was unprofitable for like 3 years, and he's like smart and good at this stuff and had gotten a lot of help. Now, obviously it's easy for him because like he can just identify what's going to happen, and then he just, he can make good trades. Same with e-commerce, like understanding what a good, product looks like, and like then writing copy for that product, and then writing creatives for that, and like, dealing with issues that come up. Like it's all a reps thing. Like with the same information, someone with 3 years in the game is always going to be on top of somebody who is, 2 months into the game. It's just the way it is. But the good part is that, okay, so now I've invested 5 years of my life into the skill of copywriting, getting good at it, and also sort of trying to learn more by teaching. So now I've taught so many people, like some one-on-one, some group setting, that now it is reps, and you will get there at some point. Like everyone who sticks with it for long enough, like will become like Mr. Miyagi, where it's just like, you know what I mean? Like it just becomes easy no matter what if you just keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of those other business models, I know, you helping people get into freelance copywriting. Why freelance copywriting versus something like ecom or trading, or maybe even just creating your own like coaching program or something, or info product right off the bat? Why do you think going into freelance copywriting is a great place for beginners to start?
Well, I mean, I chose it because I didn't have I didn't have any money to put towards anything else. Like I couldn't spend money on ads or test products. Like I was broke, bro. I didn't have any money that I could meaningfully put into trading. I didn't even know like what platforms to use. Like it never like really called me. The thing I loved about copywriting was like I could go super, super lean. I already had a laptop. I already had access to Google Docs, and I had, a phone where I could scroll Instagram and find leads that were potentially going to pay me. I had no money to invest. And that to me was like something that I liked, because it was like, it was all up to me. It wasn't like me gambling. Cause like, that's how I literally, even today, still kind of think of ads, is like going to the casino and just putting in $100 and hoping that I get at least 120 out. And like when I only had $22 to my name, like that, wasn't a viable option for me. And so I was just looking for something that was basically free to start. And I mean, the reason I also like, I'm very anti like first business info. I know some great entrepreneurs that have done that, like that have, made money really fast because their first business was some sort of course or something like that. And so I'm not gonna knock it, because there's some people that are just gifted at making content and gifted at selling stuff like that. And like, if that's what, like as long as the product is decent, you're not like really ripping people off, and do your thing. But I mean, like I said, like it took me 3 years to like really want to do that for Copy MBA. And I think like because of that, I'm able to make a better product and be a little bit more authentic when I sell it. Because I've done it for so long.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going into actually, getting clients as a freelancer, I'm sure it's different now. But in the beginning, it's, to a certain extent, you're cold pitching people. You're trying to position yourself as someone that can help them. And I think there's a difference in that, how you approach like that sort of sale, getting a client, versus if it's like an inbound lead for your coaching program, right? Where you can get on a call for your coaching program, or one of your sales reps kind of like, what's got you here, right? Like, you're here because you need help with something, as opposed to as a freelancer, you're really trying to like sell them on an idea. For example, the first thing I ever did online was actually try to sell like a Facebook ads service, just, learn Facebook ads and tell people, businesses I can help them. And then some sales script I found was like, oh, when someone gets on the call, basically ask them like, oh, what's got you on the call today? So like, I reached out to this person, asked them to get on a call, told them I can help them. And then I'm like, oh, so what's got you on the call? They're like, I don't know. You reached out to me. And I was like, yeah, I guess I did. So how would all that to be said, how do you go about structuring or kind of selling someone as a freelancer when you're the one that's trying to pitch them on an idea versus them coming to you?
Okay. So the thing, and again, it's been a while since I've had to do outreach. Like, every client I've had in the last, who knows how long, has been bound to me. Like, even when I was a beginner, like after the first 6 months of me doing copywriting, like I wasn't doing outreach anymore. It was all intern work stuff. But like it's more about the sentiment. Okay. So like the sentiment for like more inbound sales is more like you're sort of like the gatekeeper, right? Where it's like, they're kind of pounding down the door, like they want to work with you. And the more stoic you are about not really giving a shit about like if they work with you or not, the more they're going to kind of want to, like kind of the way you sell like a Rolex or a Birkin or something like that, like more like luxury sales. But the way you kind of spin it when you're the one chasing them is like, you kind of got to just be like extremely passionate about like how much potential they have to make more money, and they're just not doing it. So that's what I'm telling everybody now. So I'm doing this January sprint, and I have 4 guys that currently don't have clients. And I told them that the best way for them to sort of like, I guess, even have like plausible deniability to get on the call and just make it seem like there is value there is like, the client or the prospect is dumb for not doing these things yet. And like, they're dumb for not having hired you to help them do those things. And like, if you're just super stoked about like Grant, oh my God, like you have 200,000 followers on Instagram. You have like a link in your bio that goes to some $27 course. Like, why are you not running some sort of ever webinar? Why do you not have a VSL that books calls for a high ticket thing? Like, you have so much traffic. Like, you're making right now 20 grand a month, barely trying with this low ticket thing that you have just a link in your bio with 200,000 followers. Like, you should be at like $250,000 a month minimum if we switch to a high ticket thing. Like, here's what's going to happen. Here's how I can set this up. I would set email sequences. I do SMS. I would write a VSL for you. And you have all this stuff there. You paint the money picture for them is usually how I recommend that people sell it, where it's like any person who's leaving, a couple hundred grand on the table, like they're going to be a little bit interested in what you have to say. And then all it comes down to is like, are you the person to do it? Like, they want the service. It's just like, are you the one to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a key insight, because I think a lot of people just, I'm sure, right, as you're helping people get their first client, that's probably a huge anxiety. It's like, what do I get on this call and say, and why are they going to want what I have? But it is about positioning, yourself as someone that can bring something to the table. So I think that's a really good take on that, which is different than if someone's coming to you, right? Like you said, that's a really good way to put it, as a gatekeeper. Like, you're kind of, all right, well, what's got you here? What are you doing? And you can really drum up the excitement, but it's different when you're reaching out to them. So now kind of switching to the coaching side of things. Obviously, you've got a really successful coaching program. If you don't mind me asking, you hit 8 figures in that so far? Are you approaching it? I'm guessing you've got to be close.
Lifetime, yes, but not like in a year ever.
In a year. Okay. Yeah. So what's your sales process look like for that? Kind of the high level strategy. I know you got your content. I think you run some ads. You do the free webinar. So what's kind of your process look like that drives the most amount of sales into your coaching program?
Yeah. So let's just talk about it again, because I'm not gonna lie. Ads, we have not cracked ads yet. We are barely profitable, which is like, that's all I can ask for. There's still a lot of work for us to do and for me to do to learn about this stuff and like how we can really tighten that funnel up. But I mean, the way it's been since we started really in like April of 2023 is, it's changed a little bit. So we used to do the model where it was like all traffic from TikTok, funnel them into a free class, which is the webinar. We do a free training, and then at the end we pitch a $497 or a $597 or $697. It was kind of different every week. We were just testing stuff to see what worked best, and then we would would get, you know, between 20 and sometimes like 100 buyers on the free class for the low ticket thing. I would do a group call on the following Tuesday to sort of answer some questions or whatever. At the end, soft pitch to Inner Circle if you want more help. And then we were sending emails and kind of just like following up with people like who had already purchased. And then we started kind of doing a hybrid where it was like TikTok would funnel the free class to or like to get people to downsell. And then every other channel was just booking calls. And then we were like, well, this is dumb. Just be going high ticket all the way. And so then we started in January getting basically rid of the low ticket. Like we don't distribute that anywhere unless it's like downsell on a call. And so all of the traffic is coming from like, so YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and then all the content people, you know, probably watch a couple hours worth of TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or whatever before even thinking about booking a call, which is why organic is so good because I can distribute that like en masse for free. And then, but they're learning about like why it's a great business model, why it worked for me, why it's probably going to work for them, what's possible with all this stuff, like how it works. And then they end up, you know, booking a call with one of my 3 guys, and then they're in.
Yeah. It's a great process because I still see sometimes, and these are all, it's all marketers trying to sell their own thing, right? But you know, webinars are dead. Like I've seen that so many times. I'm like, man, I see my boy absolutely crushing the webinar game for the last few years. You know, so I love the you're executing on that. And it brings them, I guess, going into the copywriting side of things and the buyer journey, right? Like you're always just kind of selling them on the next thing. It's like your content sells them on the free class. Your free class sells the book, like the call, and then on the call you sell the Inner Circle program, right?
Right. And so about the like which funnel? Okay, so it's a weird thing, bro, because a lot of people say like webinars are not the way to go. It's super inefficient because there's so many different like touch points, so you lose a lot of people, which is true. But I think it's unique to me because I'm built for the camera. I've always been like a bit of a camera hog. Like I can talk on camera, I can entertain for an hour if I need to. And so I think I'm just good at webinars. I think like our slides are really good. The training is really good. Like there's plenty of people that actually get results like just from the free class. And like, so the presentation is just like dialed, right? And so now we're back to bi-weekly webinars. So starting tomorrow, basically every 2 weeks until probably midsummer, we're just consistently doing that. And I realized too that it's like part of the sales process. So like, yeah, some people will just watch a YouTube video and then go direct to book a call and then close. Some people, most people actually are more hesitant. They need to be, they're not as easy of a sell. And so like, yeah, they need to go to like maybe 1 to 3 free classes and really get bought in. And so like having those consistently going is going to help with ads. It's going to help with, you know, everything. It's just like basically just like clearing out the pipeline every 2 weeks and booking just a bunch of calls. So that is something I'm excited about. But on ads, we kind of have 2 funnels going. We have like the call funnel, which is going straight to the book a call. He's a VSL. And then on one of them, we have an opt-in. So like the dialers are hitting them. And then on another one, there's no opt-in. And then they just book a call. And then the other funnel is the Webby funnel. But I talked to a couple of guys in Toronto, I think it was like last week or the week before, about how they're, you know, spending $350 a month on ads for a low ticket thing, and they're making 500 back on like upselling to the high ticket. So they're going like a low to high thing, which like we tried, did not work for us. So it's going to be different for every business. Like I don't think there's one size fits all for that either.
Yeah, and I like the transition that you made to from, and maybe this is just because I'm a sales guy at heart, having an actual sales team, you know, helping, because I think you said initially you did the low ticket, then you ran basically a live call and soft pitched Inner Circle, but you eventually transitioned to a sales team. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are, and I see this narrative a lot, like I only close through the DMs, or I'll sell just through Google Docs, and you know, like anything to not take sales calls and have a sales team. And I'm like, I think that'll be the most obvious bottleneck in your business at some point, right? So what's your take on, or the benefit of having a sales team and the level you've been able to take your business to?
Dude, I've never not like sold high ticket with, you know, no salesperson. Like that's crazy. There are times where like someone has been in the DMs talking to both me and a setter for months. Like I'll hop in a little bit and then the setter will hop in and then I'll hop in again. And then finally, after like 6 months of talking, like they'll be like, I don't need a call, just send me the link. So like that happens maybe once a month that like someone will just piff through DMs. But like when we started, so like on April 19th, I sent an email to my list of low ticket buyers and said, hey, if anybody wants to join my little inner circle thing that I'm like building right now, it's beta. You'll get hop on a call with me, you book. And then I was slinging it at 3K at the time. And I think I went like 29 for 30, or sorry, 30 for 31. I could not miss, bro. And every single call showed. I didn't have a single, I had 100% show rate and a 99% close rate. It was insane. Which like no sales guy could say. Obviously, I'm not just a crazy sales guy. It's just because I'm the face of the thing. So it's like, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, so as soon as I stepped out, I got my guy Julian. Was Julian your guy?
Yeah. I talked to Julian.
Sweetest kid ever. To like a good sales guy isn't just to get you over the line and get you to pull out your car. Like they're offering more. Like I will review sales calls from my guys, and like I will listen to them literally change the way that some of these prospects think about themselves. Like it's much more transformative than just like, hopping on a call so you can pay me. It's not about that. I mean, it's part of it. Yeah, it's like it's part of the funnel, but also like people will usually leave those calls better than they came just because of, the conversation with these guys, because they need to hear stuff sometimes. They need to hear like, you're dragging your feet too much. You're not doing enough. Like if you're 38 and living in your mom's basement, like time to, put, the rubber to the road a little bit, you know what I mean? So a lot of times, like, it's more than just like, hey, like what are your, with your social security numbers? And like, you know what I mean? It's more than that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think particularly selling, kind of like an MMO opportunity, right? There does have to be, and that's something I've sold for years at this point too. And it's like, there really does have to be a transformative conversation that happens to, and most people aren't fully ready to just go over that line right away. There's some sort of value that the salesperson has to add into it. And I think just having that touch point with an actual person, there's things that just can't be like fleshed out through a video or through a DM conversation. Like that one-on-one interaction, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, dude, you got to hold up a mirror to them sometimes. And like a good salesperson will do that. Like it's super tailored to them. Like I would love to save, 70 grand a month and not pay my sales guys and just do it off of Google Doc. But I would not make, we would not have the numbers that we have if we just didn't have those people. Like even dialers, like, so I have 3 closers and I think like, I don't even know now. I think it's 8 or 9 dialers that are just ripping through leads. And even they like have a huge value add. Like before we had dialers, like, like our show rate wasn't as good. Like our like we weren't getting it was just, they add a lot of volume. Like they're just a catch all. Like there's literally nowhere to go. Like once you enter our funnel, like something's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's it. Staying in front of people is important, right? And I think a lot of times people worry about being in front of their customers too much. And it's like, oh man, people are consuming content, information, and touch points all day long. The question is it going to be you or someone else? Like if you can get the dialers out there and reaching out to people, sending emails, anything to kind of move the needle forward, obviously leads to better results.
Dude, absolutely. And this is something that this is like, I don't want to say New Year's resolution because I feel like that's a little corny. But like this year already in the first 7 days of January, I posted like 8 or 9 TikToks, I think 15 or 16 reels. I've gone live 6 times. Like, did I say YouTube? I don't think I did. Maybe I did, but whatever. Regardless, so much content. And I plan on keeping this up because like, I can't think about like, am I, overflowing my audience with content? Because like most people who think that are not even close. There are guys that are posting, 3, 4, 5 times a day on Instagram, 3, 4, 5 times. TJR Trades posts 20 TikToks a day, like literally 20. I think he's doing a YouTube video a day. I think he's going live on Kick. And there's a reason why he is making more money than like anybody right now, is because he's so, number one, he's really good at what he does. He's got a great on-screen personality, and his distribution is insane. Like 30 pieces of content a day. Like there's no way that you're not going to like catch something and just grow like insane. And that's what's happening.
Yeah. And I don't agree with everything Hormozy says, but there was like one little bit he had. He was like talking about growing his YouTube audience, and he went to someone who had like, I don't know, the crazy amount of followers. And like the first thing he realized, the guy asked him like, oh, how much are you posting a day? And he said, just say it was once. And he was like, oh, I post 10. He's like, all right, well, don't say anything else. I mean, that's all I really need to know. If you're posting 10 times a day and I'm only posting one, there's the biggest, gap, right? Obviously too, you don't just want to be putting out like shit content. You want it to be good, but it's definitely a volume game. And I think every touch point, right, the more someone sees you, the more you indoctrinate them, and those are the people that become sales. And even looking, kind of reflecting back like on how I ended up joining your inner circle program, it was probably just about a year ago, but dude, I've been watching you on TikTok for like a year and a half, maybe even 2 before, I don't even know. But I was like, dang, like I like his content. And it was just, you plant a little seed, and it's like every time I see like copywriting, man, there's ways to get clients. And that's something I'd kind of been trying to do for a little bit, was get clients in that way. But over time, you know what I mean? It was like, all right, that kind of wore on me, for lack of a better word. Then I went to one of your free webinars, and I almost went through it with the angle as well. I was like, well, let me just see how he structures a free webinar, because from like a copywriting point of view, let me see how he flows through this whole presentation. And I was like thinking about it with that angle. And by the time I was done, I was like, I'm gonna buy from this guy. I was like, I'm not new with everything, but at some point when you get to a certain level of experience or time in the game, it's almost like you can get more value from the programs that you enroll into. I didn't go into it like, okay, he needs to teach me everything. It was like, I can pick up 1 or 2 things in this whole thing, and it'll make me my $5,000 back. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Point being, my customer journey was a bit long, but it's like I watched enough of your content over time and learned enough from you and how you structure your videos and your webinars that eventually I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna buy.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that too. I do wish that I had more guys like you, because like, again, like I would so much rather teach and work with someone who like knows what the fuck he's got, like knows what's going on, like understands how digital marketing works. Like you already had a background in sales. Like it was so easy for you to kind of hop in and just like pick up a couple of things, like you said. And like, I wish I had like, 100 more of you, because like, it's, I want to do that. Like every guy who's in there who has a background in sales always does well. Like one of the guys actually who was on the boat with us for Copy Olympics, also had a background in sales, and he was in the same program as the guy who was closing him in sales. And so he came in, dude, he started making, 10, 12 grand a month, like ASAP too. So like, but to go back to what you're saying, a lot of people like, and again, that's the thing with organic is like, dude, there are people that will talk to one of my guys and be like, yeah, I've been following Mason on, on Twitter since 2021. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what took you so long? But like, whatever, man, I'm glad you're here now. But yeah, those people tend to do well. Those people, because like they're so educated already, they jump in, they're more than ready. You know?
Yeah, like Julian did not have to say much to me. You know what I mean? Like that conversation was not super, super deep or anything. It was like, I kind of was that person who just pulled out my credit card. I was like, dude, I'm ready. Still a good conversation. You know what I mean? He did his due diligence. He did everything, right as a sales rep should. But I was like, dang, I'm ready to go. And that goes to show like the power of, content over a long period of time. And I want to dive more into that on the more tactical side of things here. So I'll wrap up the first section here. This will be, kind of posted on YouTube publicly. So for anyone listening on this end, Mason, where can our listeners find you, learn from you, and take advantage of your services?
Yeah, so I'm on every social media platform at Cardinal Mason, except for Instagram for some reason, where I'm at Cardinal Mace, M-A-S-E. Always down for conversation. Any of the Grant Temple listeners, if you guys want to DM me, I'm always around.
Yeah. All right, cool. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this portion of the interview with the one and only Cardinal Mason. That was a great conversation. I really enjoyed that. Make sure you follow him on his social media pages. You can really learn a lot just from his free content. Follow his YouTube. Also worth noting as well, whether you want to become a freelance copywriter, he's got a fantastic coaching program. It's one of the best that I've seen. But also with that, coaching program, he has a lot of people that are freelance copywriters. So if you're a business owner and you're looking to outsource emails, ads, VSLs, content scripting, he teaches a lot of really good stuff in there. And there are absolute killers in his community that are fantastic copywriters that can certainly be of benefit to your business. So you can reach out to him in regards to that as well. I'll put a link below to his website and his social media pages. But I do want to point out this was only the first half of our conversation. There's a whole second half of this conversation when you access my Sales Plug Plus, where we take a deeper dive into copywriting, like ads, VSLs, emails, sales principles. So there's a lot of really, really good tactical information that you can go and apply in your business. It's a one-time investment of $97. You will get the second half of this interview that I have with Cardinal Mason here, but I also have interviews from other 6, 7, 8-figure business owners covering a variety of topics around sales, and I'm going to be adding to it consistently. So one-time payment, $97. You get access, a lot of great content in there to help you sell more, and I will be adding more to it. Just make sure that you, there's a link around here to access that, the Sales Plug Plus. So go ahead and do that. Thank you for watching this, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.